Breaking news of international significance. TV chef Greg Wallace has made some off-colour jokes. That's right, stop what you're doing, you need to watch this. This is absolutely groundbreaking stuff here. Greg Wallace, who many of you might not know outside of Britain, many people in Britain do know him, but you might know the meme, so let me refresh your memory before getting onto the juicy bits of news. So here it is, this is the original clip that became a meme.
It's just a bit milky and sloppy.
Okay. I like the buttery biscuit base, the cream and the sloppy...
So you get the idea. The buttery biscuit base part, obvious standout part, which got turned into this absolute club classic of a song that I've listened to many. Anyway, on to more important things. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has denounced his misogynistic comments, which were effectively just off-colour jokes at most, perhaps. And I wanted to have a look at what he's actually said and done, just to show you what gets a response from the Prime Minister himself. Of course, this guy faces losing his job. He's been, in TV for at least 20 years, he was saying. And if we go up to the top here, look at the tone of this. Greg Wallace has hit back at allegations of historic misconduct, saying they have come from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age, which, you got to respect him for pointing this out. That's kind of funny. And it's saying, the MasterChef presenter said in a video on Instagram on Sunday morning that there had been 13 complaints from over 4,000 contestants he had worked with in 20 years on the BBC One show. He stepped aside earlier this week after a BBC News investigation revealed a string of allegations of inappropriate sexual comments and inappropriate behaviour against him. So you think, okay, that sounds really serious, that sounds really bad. Don't worry, we'll be getting to those. The investigation heard from 13 people across a range of ages who worked across 5 different shows, including broadcaster Kirsty Walk, who appeared on Celebrity MasterChef. He does point out as well that all of these people are from Celebrity MasterChef. So is there something about middle-class celebrity women in the media? Perhaps a shared view of, say, politics? It's not for me to say. But anyway, he carries on to say, I've been doing MasterChef for 20 years, amateur, professional and Celebrity MasterChef, and I think it's time, in that time, I have worked with over 4,000 contestants of all different ages, all different backgrounds and all walks of life. And apparently now, I'm reading in the paper, there's been 13 complaints in that time. Now, in the newspaper, I can see the complaints coming from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age, just from Celebrity MasterChef. That isn't right. And that's a fair point, in my opinion. If a very, very narrow selection of people take objection to what he's saying, then perhaps something is going on here that isn't necessarily what it seems. And his lawyers have strongly denied he engaged in sexual harassing behaviour, because it seems like he's just made one-off comments, to be fair. From what I've been able to read in the media, maybe I'm wrong, maybe he's guilty of something, but from what I've seen presented here and what everyone's getting in a tizzy about, it's not much. And says, responding to Wallace's video, actress Emma Kennedy, who won Celebrity MasterChef in 2012, says she complained about his behaviour at the time, said, it doesn't matter what the age of any woman is. If you behave inappropriately, you behave inappropriately, she told the BBC News. It's a story as old as the tides that people who have been accused of inappropriate behaviour turn the tables on those pointing it out and try and change the narrative. You mean you try and defend themselves, right? She says, playing the they're having a go at me because I'm working class card is ridiculous. I think actually there is a little element of class in here, in that working class men and women make rude jokes sometimes, and they're not necessarily targeted at people, they're just a means of making people like you. And sometimes people who don't have that background get offended at that sort of thing. And a good example of this perhaps is this next line here. TV presenter Kirsty Allsop told BBC Radio 4's the World this weekend about an encounter with Wallace several years ago that left her so embarrassed after he made a reference to something he and his partner did in bed. So he's not even making sexual comments to the people he's making them towards. He's saying something about his partner. There's also allegations that while he was on set, he took his shirt off to get changed. And it got to the point where Baroness Harriet Harman of the Labour Party said that women now feel able to challenge inappropriate behaviour from men. And she says, and she actually goes along with this line that he trotted out, older middle-class women are more able to challenge than freelance junior women. So she's saying, well, maybe he has a point, but it's just because we're more willing to talk about it, which is one interpretation. And she adds, it's our duty. And yeah, that's it. You know, the guy's 60 years old. He's had a long career in TV, and lots of people alleging these sorts of things. It's basically just, he made some jokes I didn't like. You know, this idea that it's, you know, assault or, you know, he's some sort of abuser. As far as I'm aware, there's no allegations of him touching anyone. It's literally just him making rude jokes. I mean, who cares? Is this really something that needs to go through the national press, get a statement from the Prime Minister? It's ridiculous. All it does is it makes people scared to be themselves at work, first and foremost, but also it makes people so afraid of where the line is because they don't really show exactly what he said, what the joke was. Maybe it was a funny joke. Maybe it was obvious that he was making a joke at his own expense. Who knows? Because they don't show you where the line is, it makes people very compliant because you don't want to fall afoul of it, because then you get your life ruined. And the risk is not worth the reward, but it also sucks the life out of anything you do because you can't have fun. You can't make jokes. You can't go out of your way to make the world a little bit brighter. And although maybe his jokes were inappropriate and that maybe they did make people uncomfortable, but you've got to tell people what they are, otherwise you can't make a judgment. And this guy's entire career is being raked over the coals for something that we don't really know too much about. And I think a mountain is being made out of a molehill here. And he's come out and apologised for any offence he caused, but not necessarily taken back what he said, which is one of my favourite forms of apology, really. Never apologise for anything. That's my personal opinion. And it's worth pointing out as well that this became national news. The Prime Minister commented on it. However, there was a recent story of a BBC presenter that did something far worse, and I think you will all agree with me here. Does making some offhand comments and jokes, is that equivalent to being a prolific dog torturer, murderer, and sexual assaulter? This guy, I think it was up to 40 dogs, and he had videos of all sorts of horrendous stuff. Funny how the media, the Prime Minister, and all these sorts of talking heads, they didn't make a big fuss about this, did they? It's just another BBC presenter, you know, doing some dodgy things. At least it wasn't children this time. Well, actually, there were videos of children. But this is obviously far, far worse. This is horrible, right? No fuss is made of this because it doesn't serve a political agenda. In fact, it might actually harm it because it harms the credibility of the BBC. Greg Wallace, I think of Channel 4. I don't watch television because it's all drivel. You know, who cares about that? They don't necessarily have the reputational problems that the BBC has, and therefore they can continue doing their propagandistic nonsense. But the point being here, there is obviously an agenda to single out Greg Wallace, and I don't think, from what I've been able to see in the media, he's done anything wrong.